Yeah.
The only thing is, like, you're much closer to.
I know.
The light is shining directly onto me.
That's true. Yeah, so it's just reflecting back.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh boy.
This is gonna be strange. You know,
Yeah.
maybe I should just maybe we shouldn't do any banner. Maybe we should just get into it here. There we go. I have to use all 4 fingers this time to do this all.
Good morning, afternoon, and or evening, everyone. Thank you for coming back.
Wow, already?
Thank you for coming back and hanging out with us.
Thank you.
As always,
We feel so alone.
we are the Genesius guys. I'm Nick,
Feeling good for Kyle. I'm Seth.
And I'm Dread Pirate Roberts.
and podcasting is what brings us together today.
Agreed.
So that's going to be foreshadowing for next.
This is the Genesius podcast. So this is a little bit of obviously is a bit of a different setup than normal. And John and I come with unusual attire. John's outfit is relevant to the movie, and mine is relevant to our guest. So it is about a few months ago. No, that was like a year ago almost, maybe. And I challenged somebody to a mini golf game and lost. And we made it a bet.
How badly did you lose?
Yeah, any idea what the
I
scores
don't
are?
know if I remember.
How badly
the
did he
score.
lose?
I think I was ahead, or 5, I think.
5?
It wasn't
mini
bad.
golf.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, so as a result of my losing the bet, during when I had to wear this t-shirt while playing against said opponent's team, as well as sporting a rainbow clown wig.
Oh,
There's
The
photo
comic
evidence.
definitely sells it.
that's impressive.
Yeah, there's photo evidence. But more importantly, and if you're watching, you've probably figured this out, that my opponent is our guest today, Ms. Megan Schlichting. Welcome to the Genesius podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
One. Yeah, there we go. This is not recorded in front of a live studio audience. But yeah, welcome. Welcome to the show. It's good to have another guest on.
Yeah, I'm excited for the
First
conversation.
first guest of 2023.
Oh, look at me.
Yes. You already sound like you do not want to be.
Oh, no.
There should basically be like a wall.
No, we're super stoked to have you on the show.
Yeah, this is one of our, I would say that for like whenever I was talking about what we were doing, when I was telling friends what we were doing, many have said that this is the episode they're looking forward to the most.
Yeah, this is
I've been told that this might be some people's introductory episode into your podcast.
really.
Oh.
I'm telling more
Okay.
listeners.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay. Well, we've got a challenge here, gentlemen.
Yeah, so
Um,
this is going to be a little bit of a different episode today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are talking.
We're talking about one of the most, if not the most beloved movie of all time.
No, I would
Well,
say
that's hyping it up a little.
I would say the most beloved B movie of all time. Maybe.
Whatever. I'll go with
We are
that.
talking about The Princess Bride, a movie that almost everybody loves. And our guest today is in the huge minority that does not love this movie, which is why she's here.
Well, because we thought about like who are we going to bring on this show, and because we were talking about guests, and I was like,
Well, no. This is how the conversation went down.
Yes.
So we were here in the studio and we were discussing our Q1 schedule. And I'm just like, oh, like February 19th, that's after Valentine's Day. We should do a rom-com. And Seth said, Nick, you should ask Megan to be on the show. And I lit up and said, I know exactly what movie to bring her on for.
well, because we thought about rather than bringing someone on who's just going to endlessly praise this movie, like one of us sheeple, why don't we bring on someone? Why don't we bring on someone who's just going to like tear this thing to shreds? And so, dear listeners, you're in for, and viewers potentially, you're in for quite a treat today.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
This is the Genesius podcast Valentine's Day special.
Yeah. So Megan, just give us like a 30,000 foot level of like how you feel about this movie.
Yeah.
I think it is a horrible movie, and no one should ever choose to spend their time watching it.
Hot take. Don't you dare.
What?
Agreed.
Oh dear.
No, Tony Stark would not.
No, okay, so you have shared your experience about the first time you ever watched this movie.
Yes.
To kind of set the stage here.
So I did not watch it as a child, as most people have, which I think is part of
that is part of the problem.
part of the background. However, I did see it for the first time in college. My friends gave me no background other than saying it was a good movie. I sat through the whole thing and thought, why the heck do I have these friends? And so there was another challenge several years later to watch it a second time and give it a second chance. Still hated it. And I painfully watched it for the third time yesterday. In
Yeah, you
preparation.
did.
Thank you for
Yeah,
enduring that.
we commend you for putting yourself through what you would consider torture for the sake of this podcast.
We hope that you offered this suffering up.
Yes. In preparation for Lent, right?
I offer this up for all the people who like this awful, awful movie. No, this is exciting. I can't wait till we get to our discussion here. So should we just start going through the stats here?
All right.
Yeah.
So this is, as you have figured out, this is The Princess Bride, directed by Rob Reiner, written by William Goldman, came out September 25th, 1987, with a budget of $16 million, and it nearly made twice that.
Wow. So it was pretty successful.
But back up a second. I just want to point out that $16 million was very similar in budget to the top movie of that same year.
Which was...
Oh, she's going through the notes.
I did write it down.
She brought a computer, guys.
3 Men and a Baby or something to that extent.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
So let me just
The
ask
same
you.
year.
Have you heard of 3 Men and a Baby before this?
Yes.
Oh.
I don't think I've seen it.
John,
Okay,
you were
fair enough.
practically... You were
I was
almost
not
alive.
born yet.
You were nearly born, you old fart.
my older siblings weren't even born yet. So
Yeah, but close enough. You old fart.
But I think what my point there is that movie grossed 4 times what The Princess Bride did when it was released in 87.
That's fair.
I'm guessing it wasn't
It's
like
not a valid argument.
a huge
Well, if
movie
you're
at
gonna
the time.
No, I'm saying it's not.
It definitely
it's
made
not a
its money
valid
back,
argument
but-
arguing against why it's a bad movie.
No. I didn't
would
say that.
it probably wasn't the most popular movie that year.
Well, that's
That's
evident.
But like, in fairness, though, that is most cult classics. Like most, like.
Well, I feel like a
today
lot of times they
cult
actually
classics.
lose money, like cult classics.
That is, yes.
Iron Giant.
It's true.
Yes. Have you seen Iron Giant?
I don't even know if I've heard of it.
You should listen to our podcast episode.
You should. Yeah.
That one's really long.
That was really long. It's longer than the movie.
Yeah, the
That's
episode was longer than the movie.
Just go watch the movies.
Yes.
It's a good movie.
Well, last time someone told her that, she had to burn some
Oh.
bridges. So you got to be careful.
Okay, that was years ago, though.
Well,
I feel like the things that you don't like about this movie, though, it probably won't be an issue with Iron Giant.
that's
Yeah,
fair.
that's very fair. So, going into a couple of scores here. So the critics and the audiences on Rotten Tomatoes really don't agree with you, Megan, because the critics give it a 97 and the audience gives it a 94.
Oftentimes, the right answer is not the most popular.
Okay, you know what?
You know,
She's part of the 4 or 6 percenters.
Yes.
I don't like it.
What does she do? What are you? He's taking off his headphones, listeners.
I have to type in scores when we get there.
Oh, okay. Just
Yeah, yeah.
It seemed like you were doing something dramatic, and I was like, "Don't do it. Don't get the gun." He does not have a gun here, guys.
I've
just letting
got.
you know.
Well, the AT-AT's pointing a couple big ones at me.
That's true. Yeah,
The
actually,
Lego one?
Yeah.
yeah. So
No, the real life.
Oh, okay. Got it. Following now.
Yeah, just keep it in my garage. I have to use PIM particles to keep it small.
some people keep
Yeah.
Lamborghinis in their garage. You keep AT-ATs.
Yeah. And PIM particles.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I'm secretly Ant-Man. My helmet is outside.
Yes. Because he saw, what is it? When did you see it?
Quantumania?
Thursday night?
I saw it Thursday night,
So which one would be okay. Very quick question.
Yeah.
Which one would be more fun? To shrink down really tiny or to get really huge?
Shrink down really tiny.
Okay.
Well, because if you get really huge,
Especially you destroy a lot of stuff.
that, but also they kind of explain in the movies, if the MCU logic works in real life, that you would get exhausted if you got really big.
Okay.
And I think if I got really small, one, I could sneak into movie theaters and then just grow. I would just walk in really tiny, and then go normal size, sit in a seat, and no one would question
You getting
it.
popcorn would literally just be picking up a piece of popcorn off the floor and be like, I got it.
Well, that's
walking.
gross. That's gross.
You could steal off someone's bucket.
I could.
They would never notice.
You have to go an in between. You shrink down and you're just a kid, and then you get a kid ticket.
You mean in the second movie when when his regulator's not working, so he's he has to disguise himself as a little kid.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, we got sidetracked enough. We can go back to the.
This is about what you should expect.
Yeah. But
good to know.
you
Good
said
to
the
know.
actual numbers, right?
Yes, 97 and 94.
John, do you
Okay.
want to give us another shot at the USCCB
I'm a little bit
consensus?
closer to the screen. It might
Yes,
be-
go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
oh,
Go ahead.
okay.
You're handicapped this way. You can do it.
Affectionate, lighthearted parody of medieval romance as a young beauty, Robin Wright, is saved from a forced marriage to a nasty prince, Chris Sarandon, by a farm boy turned pirate,
Carrie Elwes. Oh, what a legend.
directed by Rob Reiner from William Goldman's script. The comic proceedings are marked with verbal wit and some silly turns by Mandy Patinkin,
Yeah.
Wallace Shawn,
You're getting there.
and Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal's in this, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
Some comic book violence. A2 PG.
Yeah. There we go.
There, I made it all the way through.
Mike Wazowski's in this movie.
Yep.
Mike
Mike
Wazowski.
Wazowski.
I'm watching you, always watching.
Oh, man.
Wow.
So should we just launch into the
Let's
plot
do-
summary?
yeah.
Okay. This one's a little bit more verbose because I feel
Wow,
like
that's okay.
this plot in particular kind of there's a lot happening.
The plot synopsis on the Google Doc we are referencing is very different than what Seth is using.
Yeah. So I composed my own because I'm too cool.
But I mean, you have to have a very long synopsis for an epic movie.
It's
Yes,
true.
for an epic film such as this.
It's
Sure.
true.
So we begin. The Princess Bride. A sick boy begrudgingly listens to his grandfather read him a bedtime story. In this story, a beautiful woman named Buttercup falls in love with her farmhand Westley, who leaves to find wealth overseas so that they can get married.
You could be one of those AI movie recap YouTube guys.
Don't compare me to that garbage.
Agreed.
However, his ship is attacked by the dread pirate Roberts, and Westley is presumed dead. Years later, Buttercup is betrothed to Prince Humperdinck, but is kidnapped by Humperdinck. I'm going to say it that way every time.
Humperdinck.
But is kidnapped by 3 criminals before the wedding. A masked man in black confronts each of the 3 criminals. A fencing master named Inigo Montoya, aiming to avenge his father. A giant named Fezzik.
How are you not using your sound bites right now?
Shush. And their short-statured leader, Vizzini.
Vizzini.
After the mysterious man defeats all 3, Buttercup correctly guesses him to be the dread pirate Roberts. She eventually recognizes him, however, as Westley himself, who inherited the alter ego from the previous dread pirate Roberts after he retired. Dun, dun, dun. They flee from Humperdinck's men through a dangerous forest.
This
but
is
are-
not a spoiler-free podcast.
Well, clearly. Talking about
You
the
said
movie.
spoiler.
I know. Sorry, Seth. Continue.
We're only going through the entire plot of the movie. I think there will be some spoilers.
Buttercup surrenders to Humperdinck under the condition that Westley is released, but unbeknownst to her, Westley is sent to be tortured by Humperdinck's vizier, Count Rugen, who is revealed to be the man who slaughtered the poor Inigo Montoya's father when he was only a boy. Also humiliated him because the child Inigo challenged Count Rugen to a duel, and of course Rugen beat the crap out of him and put a scar on each of his cheeks. As the wedding approaches, Humperdinck, who originally orchestrated Buttercup's kidnapping anyway to incite in war with a neighboring country, tortures and nearly kills Wesley after Buttercup calls him a coward. Wesley is rescued by Fezzik and Inigo, the latter of which is now aware that Count Rugen is his father's murderer. They take Wesley to a folk healer to revive him, and though Wesley is still weakened, they proceed to storm the castle during the wedding. Fezzik scares off the guards, Inigo confronts and kills Count Rugen, and his still weakened Wesley bluffs Humperdinck into surrendering.
That's a really awkward sentence. He bluffs Humperdinck.
The trio escape with Buttercup, and Wesley lives happily ever after with her. The sick boy, captivated by the story, asks his grandfather to read it again tomorrow night. Echoing Wesley, he replies, "As you wish."
So romantic.
As you wish.
And that is The Princess Bride. You know, I want to point out.
You're getting a lot better at like shortening these plot summaries.
Yeah, you know, I spent
That's
some time on
short?
it. Yes.
Yes. Trust us.
Listen to our previous episodes. Trust me, this is short.
We used to
Especially
literally
like the very first ones that we did were
Oh my
basically
gosh.
just the entire one was just the plot, and
we spend the whole
Interject,
movie
yeah.
going through the plot, and we literally have a million tangents. That's the old format of the podcast. We had to really rein that in.
yeah, but we want to have more discussion in this season.
I want to point out that there were many uses of the phrase "as you wish" in this movie. And the one that made it to my soundboard, I think you'll all agree, is the greatest. And it is this one.
As he's rolling down the
It's
hill.
him,
As he's rolling down the hill.
him rolling down the hill, screaming "as you wish," which, by the way, the delivery is awful. It's just,
It's wonderful.
it's awful.
That's why it's
so-
wonderful.
It's so bad. Some might say it's good.
So Nick is the somebody.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
well, he also
But
likes
that-
The Last Jedi. So I'm sorry.
But
I haven't seen it in a while, so
That's fair.
but he would agree that he doesn't like The Hobbit though.
Oh, he would agree he
Yeah,
doesn't like
yeah.
The Hobbit.
So
Yeah,
anyway.
that's fair. Sorry. I'm sorry. I literally broke my promise to you within a
Yes,
single episode.
but people don't know about that promise yet.
People don't know about that
So,
promise.
yet.
so still good.
I want you all to know that when you listen,
listeners and viewers, we've already recorded next week's episode.
I want you to know that when you listen to that episode and you hear me promise to Nick that I'm not going to hate on The Last Jedi
Just
anymore,
remember, he already broke it.
I want you all to know that I was lying.
Wow.
So, yeah. But
All right. So the whole
into this.
So this podcast is we are talking about The Princess Bride, but very specifically, this is the case of the people, aka the Genesius guys, versus Megan Schlichting.
that feels
The general populace
that
that
feels
likes this
so
movie.
one-sided.
It's okay.
That's like everyone getting out their pitchforks. Like, so Megan, you hate this movie?
I do.
Yeah.
I could turn that walker around.
That's okay.
It makes it sound like a stroller, or like you're an old person with like a walker. I'm gonna turn this walker around.
Don't make me turn this walker around. Come here, you whippersnapper. I'm gonna lose my tennis ball. I'm sorry. Megan.
Hey, I was the old one here.
Well, you are.
So, by the way, I completely missed the soundbite that I could have used for the synopsis, which was
Well,
Yeah.
you get to look for it.
I get to look forward to it next week, I guess.
Yeah.
So, Megan, what is your first? Just like get us out of the gate, gut punch us. How like?
From what I understand, from what we understand, you took at least a page of notes with bullet points.
Yes.
So this is serious.
And I kind of broke it into 3 sections.
Sure,
Looking
sure.
at plot,
Okay.
characters, and then like cinematic experience.
Oh, I like
Ooh,
this. I like
nice,
this.
This is gonna be
nice.
good.
I like this.
So is basically she's on the offense, we're on the defense for this debate.
Yeah.
Okay.
The people are on the defense.
I want you all to know that if I agree with her point, you will simply hear,
Agreed.
and we'll move on. So
We just all agree on the point. We're just like,
yeah, just silence.
I think,
Agreed.
Yeah, just silence.
I think we. Wait, why does she get permission to touch the soundboard and I don't?
Because you've touched it before. You've previously violated the soundboard.
She
Okay.
just violated the
Dang.
soundboard.
I was not told about said rule, so
Yes. She did not
Neither
know.
was I.
I told you after you did it.
Yeah, after I did it.
Yeah, so she gets the same courtesy.
that's fair.
I see.
Yeah, so she gets here. Do you want to press one more just for old time's sake?
Agreed.
Yes. Perfect. You could even touch a different one.
I didn't know what the other ones were.
Try one. Try one.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave
Wait for it.
with a box of screws.
I'm so happy that's the one you picked.
Oh. That was the best.
I thought it was gonna be this one. From
Yeah. That one needs to get removed. It's not even worth it anymore. Even the meow, that was the best one. That we live in the best timeline, guys.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, give us your first point. What are you going to start with here?
A second. Pull up my
She's
notes.
like, there's so many.
I
I don't even know which
She
one
like
to
flips
choose.
through her book, her journal.
I mean, that's basically what this is by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're gonna start with cinematic content because that kind of relates to some of the stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm the resident expert. I got this.
All right, so I want to kind of ask a question around what you guys believe the cost of value
Yes.
of the like scenery, the backgrounds, the buildings, so on and so forth. Keep in mind they spent $16 million on this film.
I want to say it was worth a carton of milk and a half-eaten hot dog. No, if I were to do a serious estimate, I would say probably around 200,000.
Okay, but like as a viewer, do you think that that is
Oh.
something that they should have spent more time on?
Oh,
Not
I
like a dollar
see.
value.
Like, what's the actual dollar value? No, I think it's okay. It was not distracting. There were probably a lot of matte paintings.
Most 80s movies
well-
did that.
well,
Return
yeah,
of the
of
Jedi did that.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I don't know what the price of stuff is, but they definitely did not try to make it the best looking movie ever.
No, absolutely.
Like
not.
there's some like clearly like
Okay, but
okay.
he said they didn't try to.
Yeah, because I think they were embracing the fact that they're because okay, like legitimately the rats of unusual size, right?
They're
Yeah.
puppets.
No,
No, they're
they're
not.
actually suits that people wore and they walked around with.
Oh.
You can see the zipper on the suit.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
That's how you know it's
I
like-
thought that we were the puppets or animatronics.
But
No.
but like it just goes
That's
to show
even
like
better.
how they're not taking it seriously. Is the way that I interpret it. I'm
Okay,
just like
so I was requested by a listener / friend of ours. Shout out James Andre, if you're listening, this is your shout out for the episode.
You
And
only get
he-
one an episode.
Well, he wanted me to specifically bring in this point.
Oh, okay.
ooh.
Because we were talking about it on Wednesday night, and he said that the whole because the movie starts out not where you think it would, in a child's bedroom where he's playing video games, right?
Yep. Because
So-
he's sick.
Right.
Yeah,
So the grandpa is narrating the story,
correct.
and when that in movies where you have that it's not many, but in movies where you have that happen, the actors in the story have to adjust with what the narrator is saying. And that adds to the silliness of the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also a little nostalgia trip. It was just him playing and the NES, but he's playing like a MLB game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
I want the narrator's cut of Princess Bride, where instead of hearing all of the actors and actresses' voices in like the story,
It's like Louise
just-
from Ant-Man.
It's like grandfather, just narrating the whole thing, all the dialogue, like even Buttercup, like the whole thing.
If they would have done that, then I could agree with James's argument here. But they are, I think it was 3 or 4 times where they actually stopped along the way, and you get to hear the grandfather narrate a small portion. but at which they should have switched back to reality. If the user experience or the viewer's experience and understanding, and actually being part of what the, story was. So for those, 2 minutes throughout the entire movie, absolutely fine. They had to adjust, but that was only a very small fraction of the movie.
But I mean, I'd say as an audience, we are supposed to be like kind of we're supposed to be like in the perspective of the sick boy in bed.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeing happening in like the universe of The Princess Bride, it's like we are seeing his imagination or like the grandpa's imagination as the story is being told.
Yeah.
So the movie was never meant to be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm. And I also do think the few breaks from reality are actually like some pretty funny like moments in the movie as well. Like they're used for like humor because he's figuring, you wouldn't, this is too scary. Don't worry. And then like at the end where he's like, you don't want to hear about the kissing.
It's kissing. You don't want to hear that. He's like, oh, maybe you could say it.
So maybe we can go down that thread a little bit.
Okay.
Do you feel that this was a good book choice for the grandfather to read to his grandchild?
There's torture involved. I would like to point that out. So, that being said,
Agreed.
yeah, not an appropriate choice.
But I mean, he's not like what age would you put him at?
Like
Young,
8 or 9, probably.
Fred Savage.
Yeah, Fred Savage.
Yeah,
I'd say he's like 9 to 10 years old.
I was thinking he was like 8.
8?
Yeah.
Maybe
but
8.
the thing is, like, I don't know. The
Let's compromise
imagination
on 9.
The imagination
sure.
at the time is like they're definitely playing like knights and like swords and stuff like that. It's like I don't think the violence is like that big of a deal for that age.
I would like to reiterate, this is torture. Violence?
Oh,
yes,
come
you get that.
on.
You
It's
get
like-
that. You get medieval violence in those stories, right? Have you heard of any medieval childhood stories talking about the rack?
He's got a
No.
point.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's also like a difference when it's like just a. Well, I'm trying to think like okay, like 8 to. I'm trying to think like, would you tell?
This is where you zoom in on John.
Yes.
The video.
Well, you can't. I'm like facing the other way, but like I'm just thinking in my head. Would you tell The Hobbit to an 8 to 10-year-old?
I mean,
Yes.
Yeah,
There's
you could.
literally
Yeah, you
parts where
could.
he's like captured and they're talking about going to eat him.
well, but that's like a classic monster.
They're
thing.
not describing it in gruesome. They're not saying like the sharp teeth ripped through the gnarled flesh
and it
ripped
punctured his
skin off.
lung. Like,
But
It's not.
okay,
It's not Game of Thrones, John.
But like in this movie, the torture is literally just suction cups, like sucking the life out of him. It's not
It's
like
really
they're
funny.
actually hurting him. Like I mean, hurting his life essence, I guess, but not like they're ripping his arms off or something.
like a Wookiee. Yeah.
I mean, there you go. Would you show Star Wars?
Well, but they didn't. That's the
They
thing.
did. Yeah, Chewie didn't rip somebody's arm off.
Yeah, but they cut
Although in
somebody's arm
Lego
off.
Star Wars, they do. It's great.
They
That's a good
they
point.
literally cut somebody's arm off with a
they don't
lightsaber.
show it. They just
Yeah, they
show.
do.
Yeah, they do show the arm.
No, they don't show the arm coming off. They show the bloody arm on the ground.
But that's still kind of
How is that less violent than just
I
suction
didn't say
cups
it was less.
sucking the life out of you?
Did I say it was less violent?
He's got a point, but I still think generally it stands. Medieval stories, knights in shining armor, sword fights. Yeah, that's gonna happen in kids' stories. Not torture.
I don't think it's that big of a deal, but
I really appreciate this discussion because this was not even one of my points. As to why this is a horrible story to read to a child.
there's so many like crazy, like any of the
To a
Grimm fairy
10-year-old
tales.
boy might enjoy it though.
Like legitimately, any of the Grimm fairy tales are more gruesome than that torture.
That's
He-
because
he
that's
does- yeah,
and I mean, as you will learn in next week's Iron Man 2 episode, Disney takes the violence out of a lot of things. Ha ha!
Yes, that's true.
That was my Mickey Mouse impression.
Oh, okay.
We've worked on these for a while. Oh, welcome to Disneyland. Oh.
Sus is better.
Oh,
Agreed.
Let's go. All right, your soundboard privileges have been reinstated.
Wait, but I have to ask, is it because you actually think it's better, or is it because you don't want mine to be better?
No, it actually was better.
Okay.
I-
That's
I-
usually
I-
not the case.
The other
Yours
was
is
That is
good.
usually not the case.
You're really good
Yours
at
is good.
accents. I think his is slightly better just on the Mickey Mouse.
fair.
It's all about the airiness in the voice. Oh, oh.
Anyway.
So now that I've thoroughly scarred our listeners,
And maybe our guests.
and maybe our guest, yes, can we move on to
Yeah, we can move on to another
to
point.
the next point here?
Yeah. So
I would say that's a wash. I don't think it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of a yeah.
okay, but there were other things in this that make it a not appropriate book to read a child. You know.
Like telling that the wife is a witch.
Oh yeah, I mean there was
I'm not a witch. I'm your wife.
absolutely there's quite a
She
bit.
turned me into a newt.
A newt.
I got better.
The three main ones I kind of picked up on are one, drinking to get drunk. Two, that revenge is an acceptable way of handling your anger.
That's a good point. Well, he also handles his anger by becoming the best swordsman in the world. So
Only because
only
wanna
because he
get
wants
revenge.
Wants to get revenge.
Yeah, yeah.
but would you say he's the second best swordsman?
That's a that's a good point.
He does get
That's a good
bested.
point. That's a good point.
Anyway.
and the third one is that suicide is an acceptable way of handling your sadness.
Dang, she's got good points.
That is a really good argument. I actually can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Why is the grandfather even bringing this book to read to his grandchild? Like the
Yeah.
whole premise of the
Oh,
movie.
because he's a senile old grandma.
Whoa.
Just kidding.
Like
Says the old fart.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
I
like
got
you,
you.
John.
Let's go.
See, that's the difference. That it's the grandfather and not the parents, so he can get
Okay.
away
But
with
he-
things.
Okay,
it also-
but they establish early on in the movie that for the grandfather, and this isn't necessarily like rebuttaling your point or anything, because I don't disagree with you in that particular instance. But the grandfather did say, like, my father read this to me, and I read this to your father. Which,
So it's a tradition.
yeah, it's more of a tradition thing.
That makes sense.
I suppose so.
I think there was less censorship about stuff like that. Like
There
a lot
was
longer.
less censorship back then than there is here in 2023.
yes.
You know, but from a 2023 perspective, though, yeah, not really appropriate for a kid's story.
Probably something better.
There are better ways to handle the topic of suicide, right?
Exactly.
And so I think there's more subtle, nuanced, and just straight up better ways of talking about it with kids. So
Because they never actually show any indication that those things are bad.
yes,
Had they done that, then that would be a little bit different. But in the movie, they just Buttercup was sad, so therefore she talks about killing herself. Well, that
Well,
that is
isn't
not-
it to like because of the marriage? Right?
No, it's because she can't be with Wesley. She's sad, she's brokenhearted, and that's her solution.
And well, part of it too, because she is betrothed to a
Humperdinck.
Yeah,
Humperdick, like Humperdinck.
then all right.
I had to say
it. Yeah, I guess
I had to say it.
that works. No, this is a good point.
Yeah, we can't argue with that exactly.
Yeah, I would. So it's a very touchy subject. I'm afraid to even say anything on it. But no, I think you're.
Agreed.
I think it would be fine if like the kid was a bit older.
Yes.
Like 13.
Yeah, like actually at the age where you can start to talk about those things.
Well, because like for instance, I would say that's a similar point to like Romeo and Juliet. You definitely read that in high school. So.
Romeo and Juliet's also messed up in some other ways too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I mean,
But the audience
they
is
just
different, is
they
his
can
point.
understand it more.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think 8-year-olds are listening to Romeo and Juliet being like, oh yes, the iambic pentameter. Yes.
Because I think of that as an adult.
Let alone understand what they're even trying to say.
Yes. If a kid came up to me and used the phrase iambic pentameter in the correct context, I'd be scared.
Well, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but like there are scarier things that kids are learning at 8 years old than iambic pentameter.
That's fair. But if they use it in context,
that's still better than what some 8-year-olds learn today.
Anyway,
that's fair. But
I think we can agree with you on that point.
Yeah.
I would say.
yeah, absolutely. All right.
Agreed.
Yep. Moving on.
Yeah, I think the next one probably to cover is characters.
Okay.
So overarching, we can get into each of the characters, and I'm more than willing to listen to attempted arguments here.
Attempted argument.
I like this.
She's over.
There's some audacity here.
She's overconfident.
Yeah.
Han Solo would say she's cocky.
I'll take overconfident.
Okay.
I truly believe that every character in this movie is one-dimensional. They have absolutely no substance. If you met them, even in the context of like that time frame, you would not want to be friends with them. The only one that is not intentionally stupid is the prince. However, he is a horrible character for many other reasons.
He's just a bad person.
He's a horrible person.
Yes.
But he's the only one that actually has a brain in his head. The rest of them are absolute idiots.
What do you mean by that? What do you like? He has a brain in his head. What? Oh, because he's like plotting to start a war with another
He
nation.
actually puts intentional thought into anything he does in comparison to all of the other characters.
Well, but what about
Vizzini.
yes, Vizzini.
What
That's
about
what I
him?
was gonna say.
Yeah.
The
he's-
He has a
Inconceivable
plot.
guy.
Like he has a plot to. I'm not saying not one dimensional, but I'm saying. Okay. I'm
Intelligence.
tackling the brain thing
Okay.
first.
Okay.
Vizzini does have a plan to have the two countries attack each other, or like to want to. It's not like. It's not like a very simple plan where it's just like, oh, we're just gonna capture and get money like a ransom. or
well,
something.
Vizzini is the person facilitating the plan. I should
He
point
is
out.
facilitating the prince's plan.
It's the prince's plan.
Yes.
So okay, why? What is? I guess I'm confused on why Wesley is considered stupid.
Yeah. Why is Wesley
Yeah.
so stupid?
What does he do that shows any thought? Maybe let's start there.
He's able to track the entire thing.
Yeah,
As
like after the Three Stooges capture Princess Buttercup, he was able to track them down.
So let me do this. He beats Vizzini. That's the whole point. That's what shows that he's got brains, right? Because he in this excellent contest of wit.
it's the swordmanship.
Yes, the whole point of this is to show his intelligence, right? He manages to subdue Fezzik, which in itself takes some intelligence. He figures out he's got to choke the dude.
Well, let's not forget the ahead of its time line that was said during that fight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh my
Wear a
god.
mask.
Hold on. We're gonna start that from the beginning.
Were you burned by acid or something like that?
Oh no, it's just they're terribly comfortable. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future.
What?
Wait, play it again.
So
Play it
first-
again.
The first part of this line.
Were you wearing a mask? Were you burned by acid
Yes.
or something
There it
like
is.
that?
There it is.
So he's a prophet.
Oh my god.
I
She's laughing because she knows it's true.
I can't disagree with that. I agree with you.
point for the people. Let's go. All right. So no, I go ahead, John. Yes.
I mean, I think at least his character has some intelligence that he has to not only have like the skill to outmatch the guy who trained his entire life in sword work, then he has to outsmart the giant who is stronger than him, or whatever, and then
Strength.
and then outwit Vicini.
You do honestly think he outwits Vicini, though?
Yes.
Explain.
Well, so okay, this is a good point.
I mean, that would be a lot of forethought into training himself to become immune to the.
Yeah,
prison,
but he
right?
was on a ship for 5 years with a pirate. Like that is the lifestyle he lived. He had to be able to protect himself.
Can I speculate? Can I spookulate? I don't. What's the right word?
Speculate was
Speculate.
you got it right the first time.
Yes. So, I would say, here's the thing. It really does sound like that Wesley had some form of preparation for all three of them in some way, right? And so he ends up, he bests Inigo, which I would say probably is because Inigo does a lot of like regular training, but that I would say Wesley has probably been in a more actual battles.
Yeah.
Being, the heir of the Dread Pirate Roberts. And then defeating the giant, right? He may not have been physically prepared for that, clearly. But he had the wits on like, okay, how do I take down someone who's going to be bigger than me, right? And is stronger.
He was also a prophet.
He's also a prophet. I'd like to reiterate that point. Also, thank you, Nick. Also, Vizzini, when he gets down to it, Vizzini is about to kill him. And so noticing that Vizzini is very thinks he's all that, thinks he has the brains, rather than risking Buttercup's life at the knife point, right? Mm-hmm. He decides to take advantage of Vizzini thinking that he has all brains and puts himself in a position of a challenge.
He's exploiting his arrogance.
He exploits the arrogance of Vizzini and puts him in a challenge that, unbeknownst to Vizzini, Wesley's going to win every time.
Absolutely. However, why in that moment did he even go through with the challenge once the knife was off of Buttercup?
Because he was still holding the knife?
No, it was in his little whatever.
Oh, so
he put the knife away. He easily could have drawn his sword when he was
Well, at that point, he's just having fun.
Well, the thing is, yeah, I would agree. But he also doesn't seem like, I think the thing is, I don't think Wesley is like a straight up murderer.
Yeah, he's honorable, right? He fights Inigo Montoya. They're gentlemen.
And then he just knocks him out versus killing him.
Yeah.
He does the same with Fezzik.
Yeah,
I don't think
his own
plan
demise.
is I think he isn't supposed to be an honorable character. He's letting people go. I do think there is one point.
Okay, we're going to come back to that one, but I will let you do yours first.
I do think, so why do you think he inherited the role of the Dread Pirate Roberts?
I think that the previous one, whose name is eluding me, enjoyed his company. I think a lot of the story is that Wesley is personable and therefore gets away with things or gets things done his way, or Buttercup likes him, so on and so forth. I think a lot of it is built around his personality and what that gets for him.
I have thoughts about a different character. We'll get to that.
But okay. Anyway, I don't know. Are you trying to say regular just IQ versus I think there is something to be said of if you are a very personable person and you're able to understand people, and in this case he manipulates them with Fezzik or Vizzini, that I think he has a lot of EQ though to be able to understand other people, emotional quotient. So something that you're able to read people really well, or
yeah, he's very good at basically he's an elite assassin. He's like the Jason Bourne of pirates.
Did you make that comparison when we were watching it on Monday?
I can't remember.
We were laughing too hard through the movie.
Yeah, it was a good time.
But anyway, so
I didn't laugh once.
I think it goes to show that this guy is a peasant. He is a farm boy. He did not get
plebeian.
A regular education, and yet was able to become the next Red Pirates.
Yeah, because he was trained by the existing pirate for 5 years. He
didn't do that with
he was educated by that pirate.
Does it stand to reason though that this pirate had many people that could have been applicants of being the next pirate, but he chose Wesley for a specific reason? I suppose he could have just, I don't know, flipped the coin as sure, that guy.
I'll put it this way. There's book smart, and then there's street smart.
Yes.
And Wesley very clearly, in between the years that he leaves to become Dread Pirate Roberts and the years that he returns, right, he has a lot of street smarts. He knows the difference between someone who is fighting him just because they have to fight him, like Inigo or Fezzik, and someone who is actively threatening and is committed to a cause and Therefore, when he brings about his own demise, Vizzini, like there's just nothing to be done there. So I would say he's very street smart. I think he becomes a very intelligent character. I think there's maybe one spot that he's lacking a little bit, and we'll get to that later. But
yeah.
yes, I would say generally very street smart.
To your second point though, right? All the characters are one note, don't change, all the same. They're just what they are. I think this goes to show the essence of it is a parody.
Yes.
It is playing off of all these other movies that have come before it that are being serious, and they're just one note characters. So it's like taking that to an extreme of like, yeah, all of them have like one goal in mind. Like each of the characters is just like, I'm going to do this thing, and that's all I'm doing, and that's all they have.
But what makes that good content in a good movie? Like, what makes you relate to any of these characters? Are you saying that makes you one-dimensional then? Because that's the only thing you can relate. I can relate to somebody whose sole focus is to kill another person, or whose sole focus is to plot, the demise of a country. Like, what makes those characters relatable in any way, shape, or form? I
don't think they're meant to be.
Well, why would you want to be on the side of any characters if they're not a relatable character?
Because you could also say that, obviously it's a parody, but it is also a good versus evil story.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if you think of like any classic fairy tale ever, like that's what it is. It's good fighting evil.
Yep.
And it's like, it doesn't always matter. Like if you relate, like I agree that it does add something if you can relate to the character, but like sometimes it's about watching good overcome evil.
Yes, but that doesn't make it a good movie. Just because the sentiment of the good overcoming evil does not make the movie itself good.
I think the point there's something about when it comes to comedies that they're not about character development. like that is almost like, to me, I put those in like two separate categories. Like if it was a more serious movie, I would consider more of that. But it's like the fact that it's so light, like it's just there's not meant to be a lot of depth to this movie.
think even though like you could argue that in most Disney movies, there isn't really any character development.
Not true. Emperor's New Groove.
I said most, Seth. Emperor's New Groove is a national
not
treasure.
True. Inside Out.
I said most.
Not true.
Most. Seth.
I feel like this list in Seth's mind is very long.
Okay, but think of like the older
let's say Cinderella, right?
Yeah, that's
like all those characters you could say are like one note.
Right.
That's a cartoon.
This is parodying cartoon. Like what about this movie speaks realism?
No. Hold on. I gotta think about this. I know there's an old movie with nuanced character development. Give me a second.
Man, all those dwarves in Snow White.
Right?
So much development.
So much development.
That's what I'm saying.
Their names are their characters.
Well, okay, but like Grumpy gets a little character development as opposed to everyone else in the movie.
Slightly less grumpy.
But I mean,
I didn't say it was much.
The thing is, well, Pinocchio.
Okay. Yeah.
Like Sleeping Beauty. There's not any character development.
Oh my gosh. The prince doesn't even really have a name. It's just Prince Charming, right? In
Actually, Prince Philip. That is said in the movie.
Oh.
It's like you barely even know their, like that's how like one note that person. You like barely even remember their name.
Little Mermaid.
Okay.
Little Mermaid.
Wait, you would say that was actually development?
There's some development.
Absolutely.
I agree with Seth on that.
Yeah.
There is character development in that movie.
What are some of the other movies from like the Disney Renaissance?
I mean, okay, Lion King definitely has.
Lion King, yes.
But,
yes.
but
Lion King is a
wouldn't-
masterpiece.
I wouldn't call
not
it
the
like,
2019 garbage remake.
I don't think that's what they're. I think they're more parodying off of like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. Like
Oh,
that kind of
yeah.
thing.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say this is a good point because while Cinderella and some of those older sort of like animated classics, like they're considered classics, right? But they're not considered like bastions of story writing. They're just technical achievements with the animation, and the stories are simple and understandable. But I don't think they are by any means the most groundbreaking stories. Like 12 Angry Men, not an animated film, I know. 12 Angry Men is filmed in one freaking room, and
It's a bottle movie.
and it has better character development with 12, like a full cast of people than a movie like Cinderella, right? So I see Megan's point here. I think there is not a lot of really nuanced character development, and while it's certainly I think at least for us an enjoyable story, probably not Megan.
Probably.
Just I'm being diplomatic.
Appreciate it.
Yes. Which reminds me,
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
I don't know if diplomatic's even the right word, but in that sense, right? I do think that this is a movie that's kind of lacking on any sophisticated character writing. And to further a point, it's a 90-minute film, which there's not a lot of room there for additional development, especially when you're already framing this as like a bedtime story, a story within a story. So,
But I guess you could, well, kind of going outside the box, or I should say outside the storybook a little bit, you could say that the grandchild goes through some character development.
He goes from not wanting to hear the story at all, that all I want to do is play video games, and
to wanting to hear it
Grandpa's
tomorrow
like,
night. Yeah, he wants to hear it again.
He wants to
tomorrow.
hear it again.
Yeah, that's character development.
He goes from not liking kissing to liking kissing. That's great.
Okay, I'll give you that.
He literally hits puberty in the middle of this book.
Yeah, it cuts out, and now he's an angsty teenager. Like, oh, I've heard this a million times. But yeah, I kind of get the lack of character development there. I would say maybe it's I don't even know if Inigo gets that much character development. He really doesn't.
Actually, he does the exact opposite.
He doesn't. Yeah, he actually fulfills his revenge.
The thing is, like, to your point, I do think they could have written some of the characters with a little bit of change from like the beginning to the end.
Or just actual substance in any capacity.
Because like even like
they don't
for
even
instance,
start with anything.
like, well, I guess you could say Buttercup kind of, I mean that whole thing is basically at the beginning, but like she
starts
goes
out-
from like taking him for granted to be like, hey, he's actually a good guy. Like
That is
a little
true.
bit of
That's-
development.
I have a very long argument on that point that we're going to circle back to.
Let's circle back to it right now. Because this is what I was
Yeah.
thinking about. I think Buttercup's awful, like an awful person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't argue with
She
that.
goes from taking it for granted, being very bossy, to suddenly she's head over heels for him, right? And she is attached to him to the point where she will not allow herself to live without him, right? And I get that there are other circumstances there, right? But she's just like her bossiness never really changes. It's like she's kind of
She's horrible.
yeah.
I
She's crazy.
She's selfish. That is the word
Yeah.
that came to me when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Selfish.
I don't think I've
That
ever
poor
actually
Prince
like,
Humperdinck, right? I don't know.
I'll definitely stand by this. Like I did not think that Buttercup is a good character. But I still see it as they're playing off of like what would a princess like based on these other movies like Sleeping Beauty or whatever
Right.
actually be like
But she's not a
in real life.
princess.
No, she's
she'd
not
be-
actually princess, but
Yeah.
she is by technicality. at
Okay,
a certain
but
point.
They
here-
didn't actually get married.
That's true.
okay, but think about it. Like, say you were living a more like kind of a life of poverty, like Buttercup was, and now suddenly she is a princess. Like, you don't think that wouldn't get to your head a little bit?
But she
Well,
was
but
that
she
way-
always acted that way, which is I guess that's weird to say. Like,
Well, it probably like inflated when she got a royal palace. That's kind of the point I was making.
You know, I think Fezzik has the best character development in this whole movie.
Andre
You know
the
what?
Giant.
He goes from being a hired mercenary, basically a criminal. He gets a job in the Brood Squad. He goes legit, right?
yeah.
I would say this is a story of reformation, right? Fezzik goes from criminal to big old gentle giant, right? With a job.
Gentle giant with a job, hurting and enforcing. Sure.
So to your point though, what about Miracle Max?
No.
He goes from working for the prince, gets fired, then winds up saving someone's life.
And then he goes to work for a bunch of monsters.
That's in a different universe.
No, it's like no,
can't break canon.
He lose all credibility because he called his wife a witch.
Maybe he dreamwalked.
No, you know, he. I think he is a parody of Dr. Oz. No, what? Homeopathic remedies. No, so here's the thing. He has unconventional medicine, right? And it doesn't.
He uses the.
Yeah, he's got like the bellows kind of
the
thing.
bellows into his mouth, and
right?
it's like the.
Yeah, and he has that whatever that weird chocolate coated miracle nut is. I don't know.
I love that it was chocolate coated.
What's the best description? Could someone make a better description of it?
Ask the AI.
Chocolate coated miracle nut.
Miracle nut.
Yeah, there's probably a better way to say that.
It looks like a walnut or like it's really big.
I just really appreciate that he needed to make it chocolate covered when the recipient was unconscious.
Yeah. like
what value did the chocolate bring?
I would take the chocolate out because
tasty.
then I would take the chocolate out because then it's going to be so disgusting that it'll startle Wesley awake. And then I bet you he'd be really alive, right?
There we go.
But the
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
Here's the thing. Can I hot take. Probably Megan's take too. I flippin' dislike that.
Yes.
It's
Absolutely.
now, it's very cute. It's very adorable. I was actually at a friend of mine at his wedding this past fall. They actually kicked off the ceremony by doing that line.
I love it.
And so
that's amazing.
So yeah, it's kind of cute. It's fun. To me, at least, it doesn't do much.
So okay.
To me, it's making fun of the Catholic Church, and that's where I have an issue with it.
I would actually say that too. I would also agree with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
To me, it's like I get it. Like it's just funny. Like it's the weird accent, and you're just like, okay, whatever.
Actually, it's so.
The Princess Bride deemed offensive by the USCCB. I mean, the breakfast.
If anybody was going to call
rating.
that out, it'd be the USCCB.
Okay, but like, and I don't know if you knew. Seth and I were talking about this when we were watching it on Monday. But The Princess Bride is like a real book.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and like when it gets to that scene, that is how the bishop talks. Like that is like so
in that tone though, like does it specify such a
Is marriage spelled MWA?
yeah, it's not spelled marriage. It is spelled mawage.
Mawage.
Weird. Okay.
That's in the book.
Okay.
didn't know that. Why would
Okay.
I read the book?
But I mean, given this world that you're inhabiting with this fairy tale, I don't think that's a Catholic church. Like, it's just completely everything is made up.
Protestantism was probably on the rise at that time.
I was gonna say that's fair. No, it was Greek Orthodox. I almost said Byzantine, but I didn't want to insult our brothers in the East. So, yeah, we'll stick with Greek Orthodox. Okay, Megan.
Yes.
I believe we're ready to move on.
Do we want to move to plot?
Let's move to plot.
Okay. So this is where I spent the majority of my
Well,
time really formulating my pre-argument.
The rest of the iceberg here.
Yeah.
We're getting beneath the surface.
So I'm going to challenge you. I believe that Wesley loved Buttercup, but Buttercup does not actually love Wesley.
I agree.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
1,000%.
All right, Seth, you know what to do.
All right.
Agreed.
Next.
So
Because
no,
Wesley
hold
knows
on.
what sacrifice is. Buttercup
She does not.
But how can you say, as you brought me on for a rom-com, that this is a romantic movie when the characters are not actually in love?
Have you seen a rom-com?
Okay, fair. But they're not even like.
All right. We'll take it.
I'll give you that. But there is a difference between like actually loving the person for the person and loving them for what they do for you. And she is going back to our earlier comment about her being so selfish as a person. She did not care about Wesley. She only cared about what he could do for her.
Mance came back from the dead. No, actually, I want to point out. She actually does surrender herself to Humperdinck so that Wesley is released, which I think is a very sacrificial act.
Yeah.
But then she turns around.
After they come out of the.
Then she turns around and wants to get out of this by having him find Wesley for her, right? Having Wesley come back. Or I don't know what's going on in her head. Like she thinks that at some point Wesley's just going to return. She's hoping at some point that maybe Wesley's just going to come back for her.
I think she wanted the princess lifestyle and was willing to trade Wesley for the princess lifestyle.
Ooh, plot twist.
And
Wow.
therefore, and when she realized and kind of got back into what that actually meant, she started having second thoughts and wanted the guy that treated her better back.
Interesting
I definitely
take.
did not interpret it that way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, right, Wesley supposedly dies, right? Because the Dread Pirate Roberts leaves no prisoners. And
Yes.
so she becomes betrothed to Prince Humperdinck, which why would he necessarily choose her? Why would she choose him? Like, how does this whole, I feel like we're missing a lot of information here that would maybe spell out not only his motives, but her motives.
Yep.
Right?
Well, you know how Hollywood wants to run out of original ideas and wants to remake everything. Maybe the remake will explain that.
The
So-
only thing that I'll say, and this is a speculation.
Spoopulation.
It's not even Halloween. I'm like 4 months behind.
Spoopulation.
Yeah. But I would say that maybe the prince picked her as a part of his plan to start a war because he wanted to pick a girl who was like reasonably attractive, which this would then say that like Prince Humperdinck is the smartest person in this movie, right? Because he's putting Thomas. He picks someone that is purposely like lower class, right? But is still fairly attractive, and then is just going to have her, kidnapped and murdered because he doesn't care about her.
He also picked somebody specifically that the people would rally behind.
Yes.
He picked a commoner
Yes.
for that purpose.
They actually say that specifically in the movie that they picked a commoner.
She should come on our podcast more often.
Yes, I like this. What other movies do you like?
Yeah.
Do I like or dislike?
Well,
Yes.
So what's that
Yes.
be like that you dislike?
yeah.
Or vice versa.
I think we need,
What's a movie that you like?
I mean, I do like all the Hunger Game movies.
We could talk about that because I've read all the books, right?
I would say the
You need to
very
watch the
last
movie.
movie.
I've seen some of the movies.
The Hunger Games prequel movie is actually coming out at the end of this year.
I was unaware of this. I didn't know there was a prequel movie.
Did you know there's a prequel book?
No.
Yeah, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I actually read it a couple months ago.
Huh.
Yes, I do. Actually.
It's good.
I do
It's-
remember
it's-
hearing about that.
I've
It
really
takes place
good.
during the Haymitch games, right?
No, it should though. There should be a whole movie about
I
the
thought there
Haymitch
was
games.
I thought
No,
there was.
Catching Fire covers the Haymitch games, which that should be its own movie because I would watch that. No. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is about the 10th Hunger Games. And it centers around President Snow and how he
Came to power.
came to power.
Okay.
Well, not like how he came to power, but like kind of like you kind of learn who he is as a person and how he got to the point where he would in the future rise to power.
Okay.
It's a fascinating book.
Okay.
But yeah, the movie's coming out at the end of November this year.
Gotcha.
I think the point that you're missing though is that this is true love.
Love.
Okay.
So therefore, that is explanation enough, right?
How can it be true love if one participant in said couple does not love the other?
But
Truly.
he wouldn't have lived
Nice.
unless it was because of true love.
Yeah. Well,
So
how do we know that for
Love is the
sure?
most powerful magic of all.
here's the thing. Really,
Of course.
really, it should be infatuation, but the thing, infatuation does not roll off the tongue nearly as well as true love.
Infatuation is what brings us together today.
But at least in the context of the story, right? Wesley only lives because of true love.
Yeah, but maybe it's because of his true love for her, not actually
His
her
impression
true
of
love for
true
him.
love.
Yeah.
And also great point. His very small,
His
minuscule
true love
understanding
is
of
actually
love.
chocolate.
That's what brings him back. Yeah.
And Billy Crystal. Because who doesn't love Billy Crystal?
That has to be like the biggest actor in this.
Yes.
I mean,
probably.
other than Andre the Giant. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
he's physically bigger.
I gotta
Can we
give it
talk? Can we talk about the acting because some of it is genuinely awful.
It's horrible. And Buttercup, like, I wrote her name down. Robin Wright, I think. was her
Yes,
name?
Robin Wright.
Like, she's made a great career. She can act.
Have you? She's in Forrest Gump, right?
Yeah, I haven't actually seen that either.
Oh, you should. It's
Jenna?
so good.
I-
Jenna. Yeah, she's Jenna.
Jenna.
I want you all to listen to this line and just tell me that this is Oscar-winning acting, right?
You keep using the word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
That is Oscar-winning acting right there.
The tonality, the way you deliver that line, awful, awful, terrible. You know what? You know what line is better performed?
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
That's actually better acting. But there's a lot of the lines in this movie do sound like they're being read.
Mm-hmm.
You could almost say, and I know you have the sound, but you could say that the acting is very.
What? Which one?
You know which one.
Oh,
The acting is very.
this one? Inconceivable?
Inconceivable!
You just ruined it.
Okay.
That's not even the right word.
Just cut it out.
No,
Take
it's not-
take two. You could say that the acting is very.
Inconceivable!
There it is.
You keep using the word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
I'm serious. about it.
I can give you that. I have to give you that.
Okay.
Well, but he does better with another line.
I'm not gonna.
You're not doing that one yet. Oh, okay.
So. I don't know what to think of you right now. Eyebrow raise. So let's move on.
Is this gonna be like the Prestige all over again?
No,
We just
no,
laugh
no,
for
no.
5
No,
minutes.
we're not gonna.
We're-
Oh, that's what you
keep it-
mean. I thought you were
Keep it
gonna say
together.
we're gonna try re-recording it. No.
Keep it together.
Oh gosh, no.
No, I was gonna say please don't. We're doing good. We're doing good. We're almost there. Pick for us one more point. Give us your best shot.
Hit me with your best shot.
I've covered some of my big ones.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, if there's anything that's big that you were missing.
I mean, I miss Andre the Giant. He's pretty big.
It's pretty
We
big.
need we need the Jeopardy song, or we need our own version of it.
Well, yeah, because you don't like
Copyright, yeah.
Do.
Or just womp 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 womp.
Meow.
I think those
Perfect, actually.
those were the big ones I had prepared, but I'm also willing
Okay,
to rebuke any specific arguments of why you think
Yeah,
it is good.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
like,
what do
we,
we got-
we
we
should
got any counters
definitely.
I want to argue that this is a B movie, right?
And not the one with Jerry Seinfeld.
Thank you, because that's an A movie that's crap. And it's just strange.
It's a very
Agreed.
strange movie.
Yeah. Hit me with the agree there. Yeah. So it's a B movie. I think it's in the same vein. First of all, do you like Monty Python and
Never seen it.
This explains that.
Yeah.
Okay.
This explains it because it's a very
This
similar
should-
vibe.
I would put them in the same
This
bucket. Yeah.
should change.
Yeah, but I've been told I won't like it. So I
How,
refuse to
how do you know if you've never seen
thing
it?
is-
Because they know she doesn't like The Princess Bride.
You have to go into it knowing that it's
gonna be
supposed to be like,
stupid.
Yeah.
You have to.
It's not.
If you can go into it knowing it's going to be stupid, it is that much funnier.
Let me give you an example. In the opening scene, some riders are on horseback, but since they couldn't afford real horses, they literally just use coconuts to do the
make
sound
the
of
horse
like
sound.
galloping horses.
Okay.
It's
That's what they
brilliant.
lead
It's
off
brilliant.
with.
Does this sound like your vibe? Yes or no?
No, but that's so far that isn't the reasons I hate this movie.
Okay.
So
Yeah, there's
you
nothing
also-
quite like that
You
in
also
this
refer to
so she needs-
budget. So in Holy Grail, I don't know if you guys know this. It's literally filmed around the exact same castle.
Yeah.
They go like they
Oh,
travel
yeah.
other locations, but it's the same exact. They just do this,
their budget was like
nothing.
It was
It was a carton of milk and a half-eaten hot dog.
Yes.
yes.
So, yeah, I would
I
say
still think you need to give it a chance.
I
You-
think
okay, actually, I think for Holy Grail, you have to watch, and really, I would say with Princess Bride too, you have to watch it with the right people.
Yeah, that's what I was told about The Princess Bride, and that didn't
But-
change.
So, anyway.
now you are now. I was in college.
No, I'm talking about the
like
give it a second
literally,
chance.
yeah.
Okay,
I,
but
I,
you
I
still haven't
think
seen
I think
Holy
she's pretty
Grail.
much at this point where I don't think there's any going back. I think she's kind of.
But she
stuck
still
with
hasn't
that.
seen Holy Grail. She has to give Holy Grail a chance.
You know-
yeah.
anything is possible with God.
Oh, got him.
So, okay, what are our pros for this movie? Since there was a lot of cons.
Well, and let's wrap this into our scoring too. Can we just give our scores too?
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah. So Nick, I'm gonna shoot it over to you first.
Okay, so
What's my scale so I can
1 to 100.
1 to 100.
Oh, okay. This is easy.
You can rate it 0.
I think I might know what her score is.
So you said 1 to 100. It's 0 to 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
0 to 100. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's really funny because I was about to I clicked the mouse on there like I was going to type it on my computer, but then I realized I'd have to pull a Reed Richards and stretch my arm all the way over there.
Just half her
Well, I
Captain
can
Numpad.
do
Yeah.
it.
I also could do it on here.
She's like, I can easily reach the 0 for all of them.
oh, that's the wrong. That's the wrong.
So what's your score? 70? Yeah. Okay.
Gosh, can you come back to me? I have to
Sure.
rethink. I have to
So-
rethink this.
So I'll put it to you this way: it's a B movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. In terms of the writing, in terms of the direction, I think in terms of the overall production quality, I think there's a lot to be desired here. It works very well as a fun time with popcorn if you know what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
I would say objectively as a film, I would go probably like a 65, 70.
Ooh,
Yeah.
It's higher than I thought you were going to go. Based on your introduction.
that's
to that.
lower than I thought you were going to go.
And I said, as a whole, it's still fairly cohesive, right? It works as a movie. I think the writing, the performances, I think they're not really up to par, and some of the lines sound like they're literally just being read off of cue cards.
You probably were.
So
I was going to say that probably is the case for some of the time.
fair point. So that being said, 60. Because I'm gonna do a rare thing here. I don't like rating movies just because I
Don't
enjoy
you
them.
dare give it a decimal.
No. Shh. I'll save that torture for another day.
I hate you.
So what you're saying is you like this 1.666666
No.
less than
What I'm saying is that I'm gonna take a note from your book, John, because you like to rate movies based on how you enjoy them. And while there's a lot of the production quality of this movie that doesn't work for me, I did really enjoy this movie more than I thought I would. I was kind of dreading watching it, actually.
I literally was
And then-
cringing.
And
the
then
entire
we watched it, and we had such a blast.
It was so much fun.
that 70. I'll do 70.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When did you first see it? I want to know that question from all three
I
of you.
think I was like maybe in my teens.
I was in high school when I first watched it.
I feel like it's the same.
I was
Yeah,
waiting for
around
John
the
to be like,
same-
I came out of the womb.
No. I know there's I know there's some people that
I was waiting for that
this
too.
is like their family movie.
that's why I was
And
asking.
it's definitely, it was not like it was not nearly as big as like Star Wars or something. Like I don't even think my
I mean,
parents
it's hard to
own
be
it.
bigger than Star Wars.
Like I think I just saw it with like other friends, and I was like, oh, this is kind of funny. To the same note, though, the first time I saw Monty Python and Holy Grail, my aunt suggested it, which is strange. But on top of that, I watched it in high school, and I absolutely hated it the first time I saw it.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to rewatch this because there's something about it that's like, I rewatched it, knowing more so how it ended changed completely how I watched the movie.
It's true.
And it was so funny. I actually went out and bought it.
Wow.
Yeah, for Holy Grail, I was which by the way, we need to do an episode on that movie. But I was in if I know you've met Megan, you've met my dad before.
Yes.
He naturally introduced me to this movie. I think I was in elementary school when I first watched Holy Grail. I enjoyed it so much that in my social studies class in high school, like 9th grade world history, our history teacher showed us the Spanish Inquisition sketch from Flying Circus.
Yeah.
And I was the only one who thought it was hilarious because I was probably the only one in the room who grew up with Monty Python.
Yeah.
I still think it is one of the funniest and most quotable movies
Yes.
in existence.
But I would also say this movie is very quotable.
I would agree.
Agreed.
So that being said, John, what is your score?
Yes. I would say it's not the best filmed movie. It is not knocking it out of the park in any regard.
Yeah, it's no Godfather.
It is no
It's no Star Wars.
There's no Star Wars. But if I am comparing this to our other movie that we rated today,
Oh gosh.
He's got a good point.
That's a really good point.
I would actually put this a little bit higher than stuff. I would say a 76.
Oh.
Because I definitely know that like this is because I've enjoyed this movie and I've seen it like a bunch of times and I think it's quotable and it's like there's just memorable moments to me. I don't think the quality of it is great at all. Like it should be much higher.
Well, and I will say this: it's not bad. It's bad in a way for the sake of being bad. This is a B movie through and through, right? They are
B
not
stands for
trying.
bad?
No, it's a B movie in the sense B movies are typically lower production quality. They're typically not as focused on the quality of the cinematic experience.
And you think B movie is an A movie?
It's an A movie because it's animated. It's got good production quality. It's just a really terrible movie.
The
Yeah, I think
story
it's-
is
I think-
nonsense.
I think what they mean
It's a
is
terrible movie.
I think it was going for is the budget.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
But
Okay, so I think I might have a score here. So I was gonna go into this with a raving hundo.
100.
That was despite me.
This actually
No,
doesn't
no,
surprise me
no.
at all because there's
I mean-
other movies that he's almost given
now
100.
that
You're like, what?
Red I gave 100. Remember
Mm-hmm.
that it's still one of my favorite movies of all
true.
time.
Anyone want to get pancakes?
Megan, have you seen that movie?
Which one?
Red. It's with Bruce Willis.
Oh, I was thinking of the new Disney movie that came out.
Oh,
I was
no.
really
Oh.
shocked.
No, that movie
How?
is
Turning
that
Red
movie-
starring Bruce Willis.
Turning Red is garbage.
That's why I was so confused.
No. It's
This is very different
an
movie,
action
very
it's an
different.
action comedy from 2010.
I have not seen it.
I think you might enjoy it.
So I will just say, Bruce Willis, Helen Mirren,
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
Any movie with him. is good.
What's
There you go.
John
what's the
Malkovich.
name? John Malkovich.
Yeah.
Right. And then also you got Carl Urban. Right.
don't know
Skirt. He was the ex. Oh gosh, he was in
Have you seen
Ragnarok.
any of the new like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He was in Thor. He was in Thor Ragnarok.
Oh yeah, he's the guy.
He's
who
guy
has Des
with-
and Troy.
Yeah,
Destroy?
with the two big machine guns.
I love how that's my identifier.
Yeah, that guy.
Wow.
Nice.
That's the for whatever reason that's what came to
And I
mind.
came and I've got these from a world called Texas.
Texas.
From a place on Earth called Texas.
But okay, when you say like
the writing isn't the best in this movie, but like, come on, the one part when they're going into the torture chamber, right, where he's
It's
just
so funny.
it's so funny because he's like, and he's like, what are you saying? No, I mean, like that part is great.
Okay, so for my score, so I was gonna give this a raving 100, not to spite you because like I actually like
He wants to
adore
balance
this.
it out to get to 50.
Well, I also
Yeah, he knows where you're rating it.
I also genuinely adore this movie. I really do. So there's a lot of nostalgia. There's a lot of nostalgia going into it, but like, I will say this discussion has lowered my score a little bit, not by like a whole lot, not by a whole letter grade per se. But
he's like, I'm gonna go with the 99. It went down
99.9.
or 99.9 repeating just to spite you, Seth.
You know, that's actually just 100.
Well, if you rounded it,
It is like an atom less than 100.
Well,
it's an Ant-Man.
I think it's
down.
actually mathematically
Quantum
proven.
realm. It's a quantum realm size human less than 100.
I think it's actually mathematically proven that 0.9 repeating is just 1. So by that logic, 99.9 repeating is just 100.
Well, regardless. Anyway,
I'll write it out for you.
I mean, you've done weirder things on this show, so.
That's a good point.
So I think I can't put it lower than a 90 because I do enjoy it. I think I would be willing to give it a 95.
Okay. You know, you should take that as a victory.
I will take
You made
anything.
him cut 5 whole points
That's big.
off of this
That's
movie.
That's 120.
Well, and I think one of the things that you said that I was thinking about prior to the show today is the nostalgia of it. I think really the reason people say that this is a good movie is solely based on their like sentimental value that it brings to them.
Yeah.
That does not mean it is a good movie in and of itself.
Yeah.
And
But that could be a reason to love. Like there are movies I love because they are bad.
But I appreciate it. Your sentimental baby blanket that has holes and rips in and of itself is not a good blanket just because you put value on it because of sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is part of the reason this movie is so commonly talked about as a good movie. It has nothing to do with the actual movie content, characters, plot, so on and so forth.
No, and I am not acknowledging your points here because I actually agree with pretty much every legitimate point you made, and I'm not saying that none of your
You only
points were
got me
illegitimate.
5 points off?
I said it's big.
It is, but I mean, yeah, it's kind of like I'm not saying, and like I said, there's a lot of bad movies that I love to watch, right? Like,
But that doesn't make them a good movie.
no, I
think he's directly saying that.
no,
Right,
no,
like, I just wanted to
always
highlight.
okay, but I always make the distinction to people that there's a difference between my like, especially when talking about like John and I had a conversation about the Ant-Man movies before we recorded Iron Man 2 episode, and I made a distinction that there is a difference between the best movie and my favorite movie out of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone were if you were to ask me what is my favorite Ant-Man movie, I'd probably say it was the one that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone were to ask me what I think the best Ant-Man movie was, I would probably say it was the first one.
Interesting.
So I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But like, this is one of my favorite movies, which is why I'm scoring it so high. And the fact that I knocked points off of it means that you did convince me to some degree that
So-
He now confirmed Nick now thinks Princess Bride is trash.
I did not say that.
So if it says anything, I find this interesting. Nick went down 5 points and Seth went up 5 points. So
Oh.
But that was because he's grading it on your scale, not grading on the movie movie
Yeah.
quality as a
Well,
whole.
Well, but I mean, it's also his experience of watching it with Nick, right?
That's true.
Whereas Nick's scores changed because of having this discussion.
Do you know what that 6 points was from?
Were you wearing a mask? Were you burning acid or something like that?
Oh, no, it's just they're terribly comfortable. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future.
Honestly,
you heard it. You heard it in 87 first, folks.
We exploded with laughter. We looked at each other, we locked eyes, and we exploded with laughter.
No. And then after we finished the movie, because Tom came, we were watching at Seth's house, and Tom walked in, and we were just like, Tom, you need to listen to this. And we died, and the three of us died laughing again.
Yes. It was so good. That's the 6 points. That's
literally is from that one.
that's the extra 5 points on my score. Yeah. That's right. So that being said, Megan, what is your score? I would like to note that it will be factored in the Genesius score.
Okay.
So you have the potential
I
to
have
have
some
a real
power.
you have a real impact.
You're like bringing this down to like 50%.
This is one
Not
of
if
many.
we average this out.
This is one of many perks of being the guest on this show.
Uh-huh. I will give you a 5. That is all the higher I'm willing to go.
Wow.
And the only reason I'm willing to go up that far is you were able to convince me that Wesley did have a little bit of thought behind his character.
He's a prophet. He's a prophet.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's a prophet.
See, you can.
We did something.
It's funny because like Nick went down 5 and you went up 5. So
Between Nick and I, we're still averaging 50.
So the
Genesius
So the
score.
Genesius score. So it came out to a 61.5, which rounds up to a 62.
He does that.
Of course he
Unlike some that I know.
So wait, Nick. So why does it round up versus rounding down?
Because 0.5 rounds up to 1.
So if it was 0.4, it would go down to 61.
Correct.
So he doesn't just automatically round up.
Well, but
I was a math major, remember?
For some reason, this just like reminds me of like back in like science class, significant figures. Right?
Oh,
Where
gosh.
it's like,
Go there.
No. No, we're done. Nope, we're done.
We didn't even plug.
We're done. No, just kidding.
But I just think if it was an odd number versus an even number, if you round up or round down.
Don't bring up significant figures ever again.
The
John.
Genesius podcast does not endorse bringing up significant figures.
What about the electron elevator? You ever? Never mind.
I understand.
Yeah, let's continue. So, thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of the Genesius podcast. If you enjoy our content and would like to hear more, please subscribe for more to our podcast. You can find us on most podcasting platforms, including Apple, Google, Spotify, and many more. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Genesius Podcast. That is at Genesius Podcast on YouTube, now that they have handles. If you would like to see us and some pretty cool Lego sets, we have video versions of our podcast on our YouTube
that doesn't apply
channel.
to this setting.
Yeah, we don't. There's some sets here in the background.
Like Seth, lean my direction, or there.
There you go. You can see
Did you hit his head on the mic?
And
You
Hogwarts.
see the Hogwarts castle and the unfinished AT-AT.
You can also see this one.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
My neck hurts.
You can sit up now.
Did you hit your head on the microphone, by the way?
Yeah.
I
little-
couldn't tell. It hit
Totally.
headphones,
He's
I think.
cute.
So, anyway, Nick, I passed to you.
All right. So if there's a movie you want us to talk about here on Genesius and any episode ideas that might be related to movies, or if you have feedback to make our show even better, or if you just need prayers, and if you specifically want us to give a prayer shout out on our podcast, send us an email at genesiuspodcast@gmail.com. That's GENESIUS podcast@gmail.com. And if you know one of us three personally and want to be a guest on our show, like Mish Schlichting here, reach out to one of us three directly, letting us know you want to be on our show. Let us know what movie or movie-related topic you want us to talk about. Again, use the aforementioned email address. Well, reach out to one of us three directly, or use our aforementioned email address, genesiuspodcast@gmail.com.
Wow. You were saving that one.
Well done.
Yep.
Well done, sir.
Last but not least, please spread the word about our show by sharing it on social media or by word of mouth.
Hey, Megan, have you heard of the Genesius podcast?
I have.
Yeah? Did you know it's about 3 guys that talk about movies? 3 Catholic guys that talk about movies?
I did.
Yeah.
And I think I'll have to listen to my first episode after today's recording.
Hey, look at that.
I was waiting for her to be like, I have. And you just be like, all right.
You can have awkward conversations like this one.
Yes.
Missed opportunity.
Yes. John, where should we tell people about it?
See, she would say she would do that just to spite me specifically.
That's true.
Okay, well, make sure you are telling whoever you are next to about us,
Which
whether
I
it be
just did.
right at this moment, like he did, at your family dinner table, at work, or on date night.
Why?
It's real.
Why?
Where you find out what true love is.
You do realize this
That
is your
leads-
Valentine's Day episode, right?
And you know what true love leads to? Marriage.
Yes.
Yes, we all knew you were going to go there next.
And
Wherever you are,
No,
make
no,
sure you tell them about us. More importantly, pray for us as we keep making this show.
I was going to say, and a baby cowage.
And a Bowie cowage. Wow.
Have you heard that little like jingle? Yeah, there we go.
That would have been good to incorporate into the movie. That could have gotten me up to a 6.
Okay.
Ooh.
Dang it.
So I'm surprised, Seth. Is there a
What? No,
Anyway,
you talking about the
anyway.
marriage wine on the soundboard?
yeah?
No, it didn't earn its place.
What?
Okay.
No.
How dare you?
It's a fine line.
Fine
It's
then.
not.
Have I
Okay.
told you guys my so before we get to prayers, did I ever tell you guys my story about how I got to bring Princess Bride and Shrek into a crossover?
Wait.
What?
So I was in high school. It was my senior year of high school. I was in a production of Shrek the Musical. And I auditioned I auditioned for it, and I actually got called back for the role of Donkey.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a nice builder.
I like the boulder. That is a nice boulder. Anyway, so I did not get cast as Donkey, but the director who I had worked with previously, Christopher Teipner, shout out to you. He cast me as the bishop that marries Farquaad and Fiona. And he comes up to me and he's just like, so Nick, so what do you think of your role? And I was bummed because I didn't get to be Donkey, but but then he said, do you know why I wanted you specifically in this role? I'm like, why? He's like, Princess Bride. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, oh yeah. And then when the day we were first rehearsing the Farquaad Fiona wedding, the first thing I ask him is, can I please say the marriage line to open the scene? And that is how that scene opened every night. And it was the and it got the biggest laugh in the entire show.
Yes, that's amazing. I love it. So, I suppose it should have made it on the soundboard. We'll see. Maybe I'll put it on in retrospect.
Anyway.
Oh,
Just randomly in other movies, there's a
episodes
marriage
from
scene.
Now
well, I think it always has earned a spot on the soundboard.
That's fair. That's fair. So,
Prayer intentions.
I want to pray for those who are stuck in bad relationships. For those in the world who are kind of forced into those circumstances. So yeah, I want to lift up those in abusive or bad relationships.
For people to seek out what actual true love is.
Amen.
Specifically for a couple of friends of mine who are pregnant and going to be welcoming babies into the world in the near future.
Oh,
That's awesome.
that's fantastic.
It is. That's the true love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's the product of true love.
Nick.
I would kind of going off your thing, Seth. I want to offer up an intention for those who are in bad situations in marriages.
Oh yeah.
Like and like just for one or both parties to understand what it means to sacrificially love for your spouse.
Yeah, that's great intention. Who would like to lead us?
I can do it. Sure. All right. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Come, Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together today to talk about things we love and all in your glory. We'd like to offer up special intentions for those in bad relationships and struggling marriages, but also for the good relationships and marriages that bring forth new life into the world. And we pray that by your grace that people can that your children can understand what it means to love sacrificially, what it means to truly lay down one's life for their spouse. And with all those intentions and those that we hold in the silence of our hearts, we offer all, we praise you and we thank you for this life and giving all, and even giving, knowing that this podcast is in your name as we pray, glory be to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Saint Genesius,
Pray for us.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. All right. Well, Megan, thanks for coming on our show.
Yeah.
Being our first guest of 2023.
This is great.
Yeah. We'd love to have you back if you ever want to come on again.
Okay.
Maybe next time to talk about a movie you actually love.
Probably.
And that we all hate.
I am gay.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah. Seriously. Thanks for coming on. This was a blast. This was a good time. John, Seth, thank you as always for joining me today.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you for hosting.
And to the listeners and viewers, we thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us today. We are the Genesius guys and guests. So until next time, I'm Nick.
Filling in for Kyle, I am Seth.
And I'm John.
And Megan.
And this is the Genesius Podcast. God bless everyone.